My name is John. I've had type 1 diabetes for the past 45 plus years. I'm also an emergency medicine physician in New Hampshire. I love diabetes and I love my life. I'm kind of weird and unique in that way, but about a month ago, I decided to share my experiences, some of the lessons that I've learned, and some of the trials and tribulations I've gone through in hopes of enhancing diabetes awareness, exposing people to more of the issues that we as people with diabetes deal with, and make you smile. If you're new to this site, welcome. Please enjoy, please learn, please love and laugh. Please leave some comments and like. Give us your ideas, give us your thoughts. Please do not take anything here as medical advice. That all needs to come from your provider. If you've been here before, welcome back. I hope you enjoy this video as much as the previous ones. And as always, please like and subscribe and share some new ideas for different videos. So, last week we talked about elementary school and high school, so the natural procession will be to go on to college. College is a big deal. Now I'm independent. Now I don't have mom and dad right there and a fridge full of food and healthy options at my disposal all of the time. Now temptation is everywhere. Now alcohol is a factor. New friends is a factor. And the high stress of class and exams are a major factor. So let's take a look at this. I went to St. Lawrence University, pictured up here behind me. St. Lawrence is located in Canton, New York, a wonderful school. I love it dearly and wish I could spend the rest of my life there. However, there were some trials and tribulations that I had to go through before I got to this point. St. Lawrence did a great job trying to match me with a roommate. I know today it's very different because of the internet and Facebook, but at that time they reviewed files and suggested different people that you might connect well with. Thankfully, St. Lawrence connected me with Court. Court and I worked at the Joslin Diabetes Camp together as counselors in training, and we were also campers together for a little bit. So we both knew each other, and more importantly, we knew about diabetes and what we could expect. So that saved me an important discussion that anyone with diabetes going to college or going to have a roommate needs to have. Don't let your roommate learn these things blind. Teach them, expose them, help them understand how to treat you and help you when you're in need. Don't make them afraid. That's the best advice that I can provide for you. On that same level, I didn't expose all of my friends. So if you remember back in high school, I talked about diabetes all the time. It was a huge part of my life. I loved sharing it with my friends. But keep in mind, these were the same friends that I had had since I was in kindergarten for the most part. So they were more family than friends. Here I'm in a group of new people that I've never met, people that have no idea who I am, let alone what diabetes is. So my goal was to be normal, not to share my diabetes. Now, I didn't go and actively try to hide it. I just didn't make a big deal of it, and I would pay the price for that later. One of the big challenges in any college is diet. Your diet's going to change, whether you're on a university spread out across a city or a small enclosed campus, which St. Lawrence is. Your diet availability and opportunities will definitely change. This is not home cooked food from mom and dad that you know how to dose for and handle appropriately. There's a lot of options, there's a lot of carbohydrates, there's a lot of fast acting sugars, there's a lot of caution we need to learn to take. For example, I lived in the same building that had the dining hall, so it was close and easy to get to. I would frequently take my insulin in my room because, again, I wasn't trying to expose the world to my diabetes, and then I would go eat. Well, one particular afternoon, I went down to the dining hall after dosing and figured there's just nothing here that looks good. So I opted to walk across the campus about 20 minutes to the pub, which is like a deli. You could order what you wanted. It was pretty simple. However, what happened on this occasion and many other afterwards, I'd already dosed and my sugar was on the lower end of normal. So my sugar started coming down. By the time I got to the pub, I needed something quick. So I ordered my burger and I'd get a chocolate milk. Anyone that's treated diabetes low sugars with a chocolate milk knows it doesn't take much. You also know we typically drink the whole thing. So a lot of times I would end up with post-meal high sugars, which are frustrating, certainly affect your hemoglobin A1C and can affect control. So this was a frustrating turn of events, which led to my highest hemoglobin A1C ever of, I think, 7.8, 7.9. And I needed to grow up. I needed to learn that with this independence and these wonderful meal choices, there's some responsibilities. So I began taking my bottle of insulin and syringe with me to the meal and dose appropriately for what I was eating. Now, granted, today's days, you have the insulin pens, which are a wonderful advantage and a wonderful evolutionary enhancement from the diabetes world, the pharmaceutical world, that makes life a lot easier. Certainly, if I could carry a pen of Novolog or Humalog with me, I never would have had my post mealtime high sugars. Let's look closer at classes. Classes in college are very different than high school, at least they were for me. Now I had a tremendous amount of work, certainly more than high school ever gave me, and no forgiveness. You got the work done, or you lost major points or failed the class. So procrastinating, although is a wonderful skill of mine, didn't have much place in college. I learned with some trial and error that, you know what, you got to get this work done. But all this does is enhance my stress levels. So now I'm kind of trying to pay attention to blood sugars, not have major issues, and busting my butt to get all this work done. The next component of diabetes care that we all know about is exercise. Exercise is incredibly important to controlling blood sugars. Let's face it, exercise is incredibly important for everybody. You want to live healthy, exercise is going to be part of it. Diabetes enhances that tremendously. However, now I didn't have gym class. I wasn't in any sports teams. I played intramural soccer kind of off and on. And as I saw the higher sugars and the higher A1C, it became clear that I needed to be more regular and more consistent with my exercise. This is a great opportunity. It can be a little frustrating, but if you're not on a sports team and you're looking for increased exercise, take a look at what your college has to offer. I guarantee you there's intramurals. I guarantee you there's a heck of a gym for working out. There's probably all kinds of tennis and pickleball and all kinds of different opportunities that you can participate in sort of on a voluntary basis. So you don't need to get up at 4 a.m. on Saturday for practice. You can, play tennis with friends or play tennis on an intramural team on a set schedule that's much simpler, much less demanding, but still gives us with diabetes great opportunities for exercise. So the horizon is wide open for you. Take advantage of these opportunities, but make sure you get some form of exercise. I hit my low my freshman year about January. I came down with the flu. So we know by now my blood sugars were far from perfect. My hemoglobin A1C had climbed. Now I've got nausea and vomiting and all the flu symptoms. So hydration is difficult, and I was working my way towards diabetic ketoacidosis. This can be lethal and is clearly something we all want to avoid. I ended up in the ER. Thankfully, I wasn't completely into acidosis, and after a couple of liters of IV fluid, I was feeling much better. But this became a wake-up call for me. This became hey, you've always said you're in a boxing match with diabetes, but you're ignoring it right now, and you're getting your butt kicked. I was driving the car and ignoring the big bad diabetes in the back seat, and he was getting pissed. So I learned from that point forward, okay, you don't need to take your blood meter everywhere and test 45 times a day, but you do need to pay attention to what you're doing. You do need to pay attention to what you're eating, how you're dosing, and make sure you're getting some exercise. Another big player, and certainly plays a role in poor control, is alcohol. Parents, no matter how hard we try, alcohol is going to be on a college campuses. Colleges, no matter how hard you try, alcohol is going to be on a college campus. Folks with diabetes, have fun, be smart. Did I drink in college? Absolutely. Did I have a great time? Absolutely. Would I do it again? Probably. But the key here is to be smart. You have a great opportunity to know your diabetes status at any moment just by testing your blood sugars. It takes about 5 seconds. Know what your sugar is before you go out. Make sure you're eating appropriately. Make sure you're keeping a feeling on your sugar. Make sure you're with somebody that understands you and diabetes. Don't go out alone. Don't go crazy with the alcohol and find out that you're having a low sugar or you're severely intoxicated. and having all kinds of issues without somebody to hold your hand. So my method was moderation. I had more fun dancing and goofing around than actual drinking. I had somebody with me, at least one person at all times, that knew that I had diabetes, had some idea of how to handle it. I always checked my blood sugar more frequently, never went to bed without checking the blood sugar and treating as needed. And I kept a careful eye on it. So by all means, it's going to be there, mom and dad. I'm sorry. But folks, have fun with it, enjoy it, be smart about it, and go in moderation. That blood meter can answer so many questions for you. And even today with the sensors, it's even easier. Just be smart. So, speaking of smart, let's talk about exams. Exams, college classes, all of this is a ton of stress. I was on a medical school track, so I had a professor, Dr. Horning, who did a lot of our classes, did some phenomenal classes for us. Probably one of my favorite teachers, right up there with Dr. Budd, who was phenomenal. But Dr. Horning would sit down and tell you, yeah, you're not going to make it to medical school. Or, no, you got a good chance. You need to improve this. You need to do this. Maybe take this course. Very black and white, very helpful, very good guide. Very big cause of stress. I got through that interview and survived. But Dr. Horning instilled with me that, hey, you're going to have to take the MCATs. This is a timed exam that is extraordinarily difficult. Time is everything you need. So to me, okay, I can handle that. I'll work hard. I'll study. I'm working on it. Oh, yeah. What if I have a low sugar I need to eat? What if my sugars are running a little high and I need to go to the bathroom more than a typical person would? These all impact time. So the Americans with Disabilities Act and the MCAT, I was able to get a stop clock option for snacking. So anytime I needed to use the bathroom or anytime I needed to snack, they would stop the clock for me. So this eliminated that time restriction that could have caused me issues. So I encourage you, if you're taking any sort of national time exam, or even some of your exams in the classes like finals, make sure you talk to the professor. Make sure they're aware of you and your situation so that you don't get penalized or a lower grade because you had to eat a few crackers for a low sugar. That's just not right. They will make accommodations for it. And the Americans with Disabilities Act is designed to protect you for that. So that was the one time I did use it. I've taken numerous board exams. I'm not sure it's been an issue beyond that, but it is an option available. And I encourage you, if you're in that sort of track where you're going to have these types of exams, definitely look at all of your options. So in general, or in summary, I should say, you're independent. You need to be responsible. You need to be responsible than the regular Joe because you have a lot more factors to play with. You have a lifestyle that requires attention. It's not a disease, it's a lifestyle. You have that person in the back seat that needs respect, but is not driving the car. So have fun, work hard, learn, but respect the diabetes. It doesn't need to be hidden from everybody. You need to make sure some key figures, i.e., your roommate, the folks you're going out with, and some professors, are aware of it. Look for resources that help you through the Americans with Disabilities Act, through whatever board is doing the various national exams, or your own professor. Talk to them about it. Make sure they're aware of diabetes. And ideally, it's not going to cause any issues and no big deal. Honestly, the MCAT, I had plenty of time. It was not a problem. It would not have caused a problem, but what if? Avoid that what if. Take the stress off of your shoulders and get the assistance that you deserve. We're going to talk about my favorite next week. I say my favorite. One of my favorites next week, which is Camp Joslin. Camp Joslin is a camp created by Elliot Joslin for folks with diabetes. I'll give you a little bit more history of diabetes and how much fun I had at camp, as well as the lessons I've learned and the outstanding people that I've met. So please, I hope you enjoyed tonight's video. Enjoy your life. Live honestly. Live in moderation. Love life. And by all means, stay healthy.